Hi, YouTube. It's Angela. We're here to do an energy update for this week of May 16th. You know, Mercury has moved into retrograde in the last week or so, and then we had the eclipse yesterday, and it feels like, you know, time to sort of check in with the energy and see where we might want to focus, right, in the next week or so. So I pulled a card from this beautiful deck, Goddess Love Oracle. And of course, appropriately, the card we pulled is Stillness. Be calm and quiet. So this is not a time for big action. You know, a lot of astrologers will warn you not to sign any contracts, not to make any major purchases, especially if it's mechanical or electronic equipment during Mercury retrograde. And for us to pull this stillness card, of course, it makes so much sense to find, you know, even if we have production that we're looking for, or a project that we're building, or progress that we want to make, you know, at this point, it could be time to gather all the information instead of taking action or publishing that project out there, or, you know, making it official, right? We might want to just, and this could, you know, tuck in and let the energies move us and you know, make lists, gather our information, you know, share the ideas with others, but don't make it go public and wide. That's kind of the vibe right now. I'm talking specifically about projects, but we could also apply this to anything. You know, if we want to make progress in a relationship, or if we want to move where we live to a specific, you know, new location. Now, if we're in a situation where we must make these changes, right? We must move, or, you know, the relationship needs to, the decisions have to be made. Then of course we want to look within to guide us, instead of these outward decisions that, because of the planet of communication being in retrograde, we want to make sure we're not jumbling all the messages up too much out there, right? So I pulled a few Zen cards to go with this stillness card, and I love it. It's kind of like a little, you know, path moving through this energy. The first one I pulled is silence. Goes right along with the stillness, right? We can add in moments of silence in our day, add in the moments of touching down and checking in with ourselves. That can be created by meditation, by, you know, just, you know, lying in bed and closing your eyes and counting sheep or whatever, just so that we're not hyper focused on how do I get this done? What is my next step? Right now, it's time to create the space within. And so it creates the space outside of you that allows room for whatever growth or change needs to occur. Then we can look for those signs as we progress. It's a time to, you know, drop, let's see, I'm going to go forward and say, if this is a project that we want to do, right? Or if this is a relationship that we want to get to the next level of, make sure you're showing up without any facades, without any mistruths, without any hidden, you know, without hiding parts of yourself that you feel maybe too vulnerable about sharing. It's okay. It's not the best route forward is to, you know, keep up facades and keep walls up, especially when the communication is a little shifty right now. This is like, you know, basically, you know, presentation 101 for yourself, right? Let's just show up authentically, take it slowly, don't rush through decisions, that kind of a thing, right? I pulled, along with that politics card, I pulled fighting. So these are both mental energies. These are kind of saying, you know, resistance is futile, right? And during a time of a retrograde, or with these big shifts that are happening, you know, eclipse time is always about change. And when we resist, right? We hang on to that energy. If it's something we don't want and we're resisting it, we're hanging on to that energy and we're actually making it grow. So what you resist persists, right? It's bigger, it gets worse. Instead of, oh, okay, this roadblock came up, let me just wait it out here. Let me just sit in silence, do a little meditation, do a little bit of soul searching, and figure out how do I want to respond to this point of conflict. Could be in a relationship too, remember, because that misfiring the communication happens a lot, and it's really, really in our best interest to kind of take a back seat to some of the activity that's going on, some of that chaos that's kind of always there. There are definitely times when we want to jump in the chaos and fuss with it and move through it, and now is not one of those times. And then I pulled friendliness, which, this is one of my favorite cards for relationships, but this could also mean, the sort of, so we've got this, like these parallel trees, right, that are firmly rooted in the ground as one another. And then where they intersect, there is some common ground. Neither of them feels threatened by the other as far as being uprooted or being pulled out of their original state, right? So in a relationship, this is kind of an ideal place to be, where we can be side by side and be full autonomous beings and still connect and still have, commonalities where we connect and relate. This could also be, if we're talking about a project or a move or a new career or whatever that is, you can still use this card as a sort of I'm standing on my own. I'm firm in what I want. I know where it is I'm headed, and that thing that I'm headed toward is, in my experience, it's right there with me. It's moving with me. When the information that I need in order to proceed comes forward, it will be the perfect timing, right? And then I will take heed and make decisions and take steps forward. But, if we could just ride it out and let the energies just sort of be there, because the chaos may come. And remember, this eclipse that we just had was in Scorpio. These are like deep emotions, the deepest part of who you are. Sometimes, around your sensuality and your sexuality and your, how you identify there. A lot of this stuff is either being drawn up to do away with because it's no longer serving us, or drawn up to shine a light on and realize, oh, this is how I identify. These feelings are, a major part of who I am. And let me just make sure that I always attend to those. I always acknowledge those as I move forward and make decisions. So lots of stuff's coming through in this time. But then what I have here, after the stillness, after the silence, after the firm alignment in your goals and what you want to achieve, and being able to really speak it and see it instead of taking action, right? It's all this sort of a wait out period, but still planning, still plotting, still organizing your thoughts and your details, right? And then from there, I have two cards that are kind of guiding. I have letting go, which is let that old stuff that isn't part of your package, right? That the old information, the old ways to identify or communicate or relate, old goals that you're kind of done with now. Let those fall away. Let them fall away at this time during your meditative and silent periods. And then I got ripeness, because that next thing that you want to occur, that goal that you're reaching, will show up when it's time. Even if it's like you have 14 steps between now and the next goal, each step will show up for you in right timing if you are creating that space of openness, so that it has the time and the energy and the ability to come into your experience so that you can recognize, oh, this is what needs to happen next. So, you know, like we know in general, Mercury retrograde is a time for, we call it retrograde as if everything's going backwards, but it really isn't. It's really just a time to pause and take an assessment and sort of plot your next moves, right? And we get to do this about 3 times a year. So we're in it now. It's kind of nice that it's going to release just before summer, just before, you know, a new season's coming. And yeah, and then tied in with that Scorpio, the full moon eclipse in Scorpio, I think that sometimes, you know, when some of our emotions come up too, surrounding some of these topics that we're focused on, we can better contend with those. We can allow them to express out, and it creates room, you know, inside of you for the next steps, for the next part of your journey. I just pulled a couple more Zen cards because I like the way this, you know, the ripeness came, like when the right time comes, it will be. And then I pulled trust. So this is a confirmation of that card. We don't always, we want to control and plot and schedule and organize, which we're allowed to do, right, as human beings. But we also must take into consideration the energy that's with it, right? If I have something planned for this day, X number of days ahead of me, and then I get close to that date and ooh, there's some things that aren't fully in place, or this doesn't quite feel all the way right, then we get to make a shift, allow to wait for that right timing, and trust that the delays or whatever that came into our path were there for a reason, right? And then the final card I pulled is creativity. All of this, pausing, knowing when to pause, knowing when to gather your information, knowing when to communicate, showing up as your full self, you know, all of these little aspects of moving forward in life help us to create the life that we want, right? I know we have a very strong, as human beings, a strong sense of do it, get it done, produce, you know, achieve. And yeah, that's a very important part in our growth. It's important to instill confidence in us. You know, we set a goal, we achieved it. It's all important. But what I want to, you know, highlight here is to not forget the energy that's driving it too. There's energy that's bringing you signals, bringing you new information whenever you're trying to sort out an issue or a problem like that. And if you pay attention to those vibrations, coupled with your ability to plot and plan and achieve, that's the whole picture there. And then the things that you do achieve had your full self, you know, your fully realized self as part of the package. And that's what creates, you know, that's the recipe for success in a relationship, in a project, in a life change, whatever this is for you. The guidance right now is to hold tight, stay still, keep your eyes open on the full landscape, look for the signs to come in, and then execute them when the timing's right. And you'll know when the timing's right if you're tuned into that inner energy, right? You'll know. That's what this expansion work is about. Okay. All right. So that was a quick one. I know I'm going to start posting more. You know, I love doing these zodiac readings, so I'm going to do a little mix of them. I might combine them into elements, or you know, they're the fixed and the cardinal and the mutable, those kind of groupings too. I might be able to do that. We'll see, but I love doing those, so I'm going to start posting more of those individual zodiac readings for you guys. Okay, and until then, have a good week, and I will see you guys soon. All right, take care.